back to today's program. We are so grateful that you are here with us today, and we will have some time for questions. But I wonder if you would start by sharing with us a bit about your your story. How did you get from where our students are in their life journeys to where you are in yours? It would be lovely to hear that.
Okay.
And if you run out of anything to say at any point, I am eager and I'm full of all kinds of questions to ask you. But if we could start with that story, that'd be amazing.
Okay. Okay. I try not to talk too long about my story. But basically, I grew up during the Vietnam War and in the shadow of the Holocaust. And so when I was growing up as a teenager, and even before that, I was wondering, what's the purpose of my life? And why are we fighting? Why are human beings killing each other? And so, I didn't find any answers. I checked out a few different religions, and none of them spoke to me. I couldn't understand the idea of a creator God. And uh, but these questions, what's the purpose of my life? What's the meaning? What am I going to do? Were really very strong in my mind. When I graduated from UCLA. I finished school and I traveled because I wanted to really experience life instead of read books about it. And I felt like that was really a very, very beneficial experience. I went in Eastern and Western Europe. At that time, Eastern Europe was Soviet. We went across North Africa and then to Israel, and then from Turkey overland to India and Nepal. Nowadays, I wouldn't exactly do that route, but at that time, it was safe to do. So, yeah, it was very valuable. So many people, different ideas, different ways of thinking, different cultures. And it really expanded my mind. I really appreciate it. I traveled for a year and a half. Yeah. So then I came back. I went to graduate school in education at USC. I still didn't know what the purpose of my life was, but I knew it had something to do with helping people, and I thought teaching kids would be a good thing. So I taught elementary school for a few years. And in the process of that, summer vacation, we had off, and I saw a flyer about two lamas who were coming to teach a course. So they were doing a meditation course outside of LA. It was for 3 weeks. I signed up for 2. I stayed all 3 because it was so interesting. And one of the first things they said in the course was, you don't have to believe anything we say. And I was so relieved when they said that, because so much of my education was, this is the way things are. And I'm curious. I want to explore. I want to test things out. And so they said, first of all, whatever we say, test it out, thinking about it logically. Does it make sense? Does it hold together? And second of all, try out the meditations and see if they help you. If it makes sense and it helps you, good, continue. If it doesn't make sense and doesn't help you, put it on the back burner, okay? So were no threats of going to hell for eternity if I didn't believe what they said. So that gave me a lot of space to really think about it. And in the process of doing that, I quit my job. I went to Nepal and then to India because this was 1975. And, there were very few Buddhist centers in the US. And the ones that were ethnic centers. And I didn't speak any other languages at that time. So, so in the process of doing more study and more training in Asia, and even before I left, I knew that I wanted to become a monastic, and which was very surprising for me. If you had told me when I was in college that I would be a celibate monastic, I would have told you, you are absolutely crazy. Never. Anyway, we change. So thank goodness we change. Anyway, so why did I want to become a monastic? Well, first of all, I needed to get my ethical conduct in order because I realized I had a double standard. I let myself off the hook. Things that I could put it this way, things I criticized other people for, like lying and stealing and, all sorts of manipulation and harsh speech and these things when I saw other people do them, like especially when I saw politicians lie, and it just drove me, I was so furious. And I said, their lying is bad. But when I did things that I didn't want other people to know about, my lying was, it was okay. It was compassionate, so I didn't hurt other people's feelings. So I always had a reason to excuse myself for my bad behavior. And I said, I need to change that. I need to get my own mind in order. And also, by that time, I had really been meditating on the teachings. And my question about, why am I here and what's the purpose of my life? I now saw a clear purpose of my life. And again, it does have to do with benefiting others, but it's not simply benefiting them with food, clothing, shelter, medicine, education, and so forth, which definitely is needed in our world. But it's another kind of benefit where you benefit them spiritually and help people understand how things really exist and help them develop love and compassion so that they can transcend this cycle of existence. Yeah. So I asked my teacher if I could ordain, and he said yes, but he wanted me to wait. So I waited about a year and a half because I needed, excuse me, I waited because there were a lot of personal things I need to settle. My parents were totally freaked out, not really freaked out. And so I needed to talk to them as best as I could, and, with friends and so on. So, yeah, and then in the spring of 1977, Kyabje Ling Rinpoche, whose previous life was the one who was my ordination master, then he ordained me. He was the senior tutor of the Dalai Lama. Yeah. And then, so you asked how I became a nun. There it is. Then there's soon to be 48 years that happened after that. But
okay. Thank you so much for that story. I wonder if you would, one concept we often wrestle with around our seminar tables is the concept of dukkha, of suffering or dissatisfaction. Even how to translate it sometimes seems unclear. I wonder if you could help us understand what is dukkha? How should we think about it in our experience of life, experience of others around us?
Sure. Well, first of all, suffering is a horrible translation. Yeah. And that's not, dukkha includes suffering, but it includes more. Like the fact that you get something and it makes you happy for a while, but then if you keep having it or keep doing that thing, it's bleh. Okay, let me give you, I'll give you the standard example, which is when you're hungry, okay, that's overt suffering. And so you eat. As you eat, you get full. The food tastes really good, so you eat too much. Okay. If eating food had the capacity to bring real happiness, then the more you ate, the happier you would be. But as you eat more and more, after a certain point, then you get a stomachache because you've eaten too much. Okay? So what brought you happiness? If you keep doing it, it brings pain. So that is a kind of dukkha. Okay? Yeah, that's called the dukkha of change, because what gave you pleasure, then doesn't after a while. Okay, so that's a good example. When you apply it into your life, then you see it all over the place. Yeah, like you finally, you meet somebody and you think that person's so wonderful. They make you so happy. You really love being with them. And you think this is it. Everything's wonderful. I love this person. Yeah. And then time goes on, and then you quarrel and you fight, and then you realize, we don't really understand each other, and we don't really care about each other so much, and we want to break up. Okay, that's pain, isn't it? Hello, that's pain. So, if you're falling in love with real happiness, then the more you stayed with that person, the happier you would be. But the more you're there, if you were, handcuffed to that person that you love so much, 24 hours a day, what's going to happen? Get me out of here. I need a break. I want to be alone. Yeah. So it shows that happiness isn't in the object that we're craving. Yeah. Because if it were, then the more we were with that object, the happier we would be. But that's not it. Also, so that's another aspect of dukkha. Yeah. But it's not so clear to call it suffering, because at the beginning you feel happy. Yeah. Then there's a third kind of dukkha, which is the fact of just taking a body and mind like we have. Yeah. We have a body that gets old and sick and dies. I don't think any of those things are our favorite thing, but uh, through our past actions and the the craving in our mind, we got born in this kind of body. And then, we say, why do we have to die? Well, as soon as you're born, what's the cause of death? Birth. Because as soon as we're born, then death is going to come. We don't know when. Okay? So that's considered an aspect of dukkha too. Yeah, that just having this kind of body, also having a mind that is so filled with anger and jealousy and greed and self-centeredness, grasping onto, I want this, I'm entitled to this, all that kind of stuff. That mind that's what we consider dukkha too. It's unsatisfactory. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have a mind that didn't get angry? Yeah, no matter what somebody said to you, you didn't get angry. Wow, wouldn't that be nice? So, that's something possible. But with our present state of mind, that, when we aren't even aware of our anger very often, then it's difficult to subdue it. Okay? So, yeah.
I'll let students ask questions
Yeah.
after this. I one more question I'd love to ask you.
Uh-huh.
Just to go back to something you said earlier, you were talking about sort of. You said to helping people as you now understand it has more to do. It has to do with more than just giving people food and medicine and education. You said it has to do with impacting the interior life, or helping them see the world as it actually is. I wonder if you could talk about though how those two different kinds of help kind of fit together for you.
Oh,
Because it seems like you're not saying it's not giving them food or shelter, if I'm hearing you right. But anyway, how do you think about helping in material ways versus helping someone sort of see the world
yeah.
rightly?
I think we need to do both. Yeah. We need to do both. I mean, clearly, if people are hungry and homeless and so on, they're miserable, and we should help them. I mean, if we were hungry and homeless, we would be miserable. We know exactly, if you imagine how would you feel like that, then you develop some empathy and some compassion, and then you see, I have to help them. Yeah. I can't just say, oh, you're somebody different than me, therefore, yeah, I hope you do well. No, we need to reach out and help if we're able to. And helping is a privilege, being able to give to other people. We usually think that receiving is a privilege. Oh, I got something for nothing, good. But in Buddhism, we're talking about being able to help others, being able to do something for others that really affects their life in a positive way. And when you do that, then you feel good. Yeah, then you're happy with yourself. You feel like, gee, I can have a beneficial influence at least on one person. So, if you help them in terms of material things, that's great and that's wonderful. Yeah, that doesn't get them beyond what we call samsara, the cycle of rebirth. Yeah, and so getting people beyond that cycle of rebirth, that's the kind of help that I'm more interested in. I do as much as I can of the material, this life help, but then also for the long term, helping people really understand, who am I? And how do I exist? And how does the world exist? And, these are, I think, are quite important questions that, sometimes in college you think about, and then as soon as you get out of school and you're working, you don't think about these things anymore because you're too busy thinking about money and promotions and falling in love and all this kind of stuff. So you get distracted. But I think these are really important questions.
Thank you. Thank you. So floor's open. We've been reading her work this week. I invite you to. I think if you speak up, she should be able to hear your question. If not, I'm happy to repeat it for you. But
Okay.
please don't hold back.
Hi, first, thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. And my question is, so we've been reading a lot about the concept of like non-attachment and ending our clinging to objects or things or I guess material goods. But how do you square that with goal setting and achievement and finding things to work towards in life as well?
Okay, so we have to understand what attachment is. Yeah, sometimes people translate the Tibetan or Sanskrit word that I translated as attachment. They'll translate it as desire, but that can be confusing because there's a good kind of desire and then a not very good kind of desire. So, but when I say attachment, what I'm talking about is a mind that is based upon exaggerating the good qualities of someone or something. And because we've exaggerated good qualities or we've projected good qualities that aren't there, then we hold on to it, okay? And we hold on to it very tightly. The more we think it is beautiful and wonderful and I have to have it, the more we cling, okay? And so that is attachment, yeah? And it's based on a misunderstanding because we've projected or exaggerated good qualities that aren't there. So how does it depend on goal setting? I think, we all need goals. We all need plans. But what I've learned is that as soon as you plan something with all the exact details, now you know what will not happen. Yeah? If you look back on it, all the plans, things, our life, there's moving pieces in our lives. Everything is changing all the time. Yeah. So if you're holding on to something very tightly and then it changes and you're very attached to it, but it changes, yeah, if you're attached, then it's like, I want this, I need this, I have to have it. Then it changes and it's not what you thought it was. Then, yeah, disappointment. So we need, like I said, we need goals, but we have to hold them lightly. We tend to think, especially high achievers, yeah, and which I assume you people are, okay? At our monastery, we have a little club. It's called High Achievers Neurotic Society, okay? Because when you're a high achiever, you're neurotic because you have your goals, you've got to achieve them. People expect things of you. You can't disappoint them. You have this potential. You have this benefit. You've got to achieve and achieve and achieve and do this and do that and make your parents proud of you and earn a lot of money so society thinks that you're absolutely wonderful. And then you have to, get married and have the trophy husband or the trophy wife so that everybody knows how great you are. And that becomes the whole purpose of your life. And then you die. What was the purpose of your life? What did you leave behind? Oh, well, I made so much money and I left it to my children. Well, that's nice, but let me tell you, chances are your children are going to fight over who gets what possessions and what money. Okay, so the parents are gone. I want, it's mine. No, they favor me. Okay. So, what are you really, when you look back at your life, what do you feel happy about doing? Yeah, oh, I made a lot of money, but I also cheated a lot of people in doing so. And I hoarded my money. Yeah, there were people I saw, in my city who were homeless. I didn't help them. I didn't care. Yeah, when it came for voting for increased taxes for schools, well, as soon as, my kids went to private schools, so I don't need to, why should I educate somebody else's kids? So I don't want to pay higher taxes. So this whole, you earned your money like that and you got a lot of money, but do you feel good about yourself at the end of the day? That's the real thing, I don't think success is how you appear to other people. Success is not your money. It's not your reputation. Yeah. Because you can have all of that and be very deeply unhappy. Okay.
So what is?
Well, hold on. I left the pause so people could think about that for a minute. I'm going to continue. Yeah. But I think you need to think about it, Let me just give you an example. okay, of that. Several years ago, one of Bill Gates's best friends who worked at Microsoft was dying, and their family, the friend's family, was inclined towards Buddhism, and so I was asked to go and help them. And in the process, I met Bill Gates. He came to visit the man who was dying, and then the memorial service for John was held at the Gates's house. Okay, so I went there and I did the memorial service, and it went very well. It was quite nice. And then I left and I came back to my apartment where I lived, and I took a walk in the park, and I went, oh my goodness, I can walk in the park. Yeah. Bill Gates and his whole family, they can't just take a walk in the park. When you are that famous and you are that rich, you have to have guards around you. They had young children at that time. This was quite a number of years ago. The kids couldn't go out in the middle of the street and play with their friends like I did. Their life was so, what's the word? So restricted because of being famous and having money. And I thought, wow, I have freedom that family doesn't have. And my freedom was, I'm nobody. Yeah, I'm not some big famous person with a lot of money who's talked about all the time. No, I'm just me. I try and benefit how I can in my own ways. Yeah, and I feel good about my life. And to me, I think feeling good about your life, good about your conduct, if you're behaving in an ethical way, if my intentions are good, because at the end of the day, we have to live with ourselves. And we know what our real intentions were. So we also know how to pull the wool over people's eyes. We know how to look good when we actually have a very self-centered intention. We know how to lie, to present ourselves well, to convince somebody of this, that, or the other thing so that we get what we want. But when we're alone, we know the truth of our own rotten motivation. Yeah? So I think happiness isn't what other people think. It's how you feel about yourself. Yeah, how I feel about myself. And so, yeah. And, because the world, you can lie. I mean, look at our whole political situation right now. People lie right, left, and center, and they get what they want, or they're trying to get what they want by, wrecking the country. This is a Yale graduate who is in helping the president do that. Yeah. You have some interesting alumni of Yale. Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, people learn different things at college. But, you can look good, you can be famous, you can be powerful. But when we die, we leave all of that behind. And, maybe what's left is people, write this obituary for you and praise you, but you're off, your mind stream is off somewhere else, maybe even in your next rebirth at that time. Yeah, does it really matter what people said about you in your obit? Yeah. So, what we do in our spiritual practice is really think about what is important. Yeah. And not important from a societal view. Look at what society says is important. I was brought up having money is important. Yeah. My grandparents were immigrants to this country. They, were very poor. My parents got the American dream. I was supposed to do the same. But I looked, and the American dream was not the purpose of my life. Making a lot of money, and a nice house and all of this, that wasn't what grabbed me as something meaningful. And especially when I thought of, okay, I might get all of that, but when you die, you don't take any of it with you. From a Buddhist viewpoint, what we take with us is what we call our karma, the intentions we had when we did different actions. What were our mental actions? What were our verbal and physical actions? What motivated me to do that? And so these, the imprints of these actions, that goes with me when I die, and it's going to influence what I'm reborn as. So it's something that I need to take care of, and pay attention to. Okay. So, so what society tells you is happiness, check up. Really ask yourself, is that true happiness? You make a lot of money, okay? So my parents got the American dream. So they had a nice house. So what do you do when you have a nice house? You need a burglar alarm, okay? You need a security system. Who sets off the security system when they wake up at 5:30 in the morning to meditate? Me. So, you think, oh, I'm so successful, we have things, now we have to protect them. But then you have the pain of your daughter setting off the burglar alarm at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're sound asleep. And then, oh no, are the police going to rush out here? We've got to do something. Okay. So, when you really look, with everything that we're attached to or everything we get, there's always some kind of downside to it. Yeah. And so that's why we enjoy what we have in this world. There's nothing wrong with enjoying things. The thing that's the problem is when we get attached and we say, I must have it. I have to have it. This is the key to my happiness. That's when the problem starts, because that mind will motivate us to do whatever we want to get what we want. And in the process, we often wind up harming a lot of people. Okay? Harming people, is that something, when you're old and you look back on your life, do you want to say, oh yeah, I harmed a lot of people. That showed how powerful I am. Are you going to feel good about yourself for doing that? I don't think so. Yeah. I think when we look back, the things we feel good about ourselves is when we can really share with an open heart, when we can connect with people, because we're all human beings. Yeah. Not connect with them in the sense of, I've created this image on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, and I've made up this person that is online, in the hope that somebody will see me and fall in love with the person that I'm pretending to be online. Yeah? Is that going to make you happy? I don't think at the end of the day it really brings peace in our hearts or makes us feel like, my life was worth living. Yeah. When we're able to really be of benefit, and connect with people with genuine respect and genuine compassion, then there's a feeling of value, because we see that we've been able to give something of value and receive something of value from another person.
We have time maybe for one last question. Yeah, please.
So we have been talking about how there's no I or mine, but how can we reconcile this with the idea of operating as individuals in this world with our own individual karma and rebirths?
Okay. Well, first of all, when we say there's no I and no mine, it doesn't mean that there's no person. Okay. We are people and we do exist. Okay. But the way we exist is not how we think we exist. Yeah. We think that when we just, look, and this was the question that plagued me all through my undergraduate years, is who am I? Yeah. And like, what can I point to and say, this is really me? Yeah. And then when I got into Buddhism, I realized, they're encouraging us to do the same kind of contemplation. So when we look, we can't find something, some core thing, some soul, some self with a capital S, something that is really, truly like a permanent me. Yeah, we may feel like there's something like that. Yeah, but when we try and search for it and identify what it is, we can't find one thing. Yeah. When we look, when I say me, what is it based on? Well, it's based on having a body. It's based on having feelings. It's based on having consciousness. It's based on, emotions. All of those things are parts of me, but none of them are me. So this idea of something that, like a permanent soul, or essence of meanness. That is what is being negated when we talk about selflessness. But the conventionally existent person, the person that is designated in dependence on a body and mind, the people who, I'm talking to you, you're, listening, we're people, we exist. Yeah, but our problem is when we think that there's some concrete, permanent core. Yeah. And then if we think like, oh, there's this core, this thing that's really me, then we get attached to it. And then it becomes, whatever I want, I should get. I'm the most important one in the world. My happiness is more important than anybody else's. My suffering hurts more than everybody else's. I want this, I should get it. And that attachment to the I then just, feels this explosion of self-centeredness. And what comes out of that is what I call my rules of the universe, okay? So, because if I think of myself as, I am me, there's a me here, then I have my rules of how the universe should be. Okay, you want to hear my rules? Yeah, good, okay. First rule, everybody has to like me. Second rule, everybody has to do what I want them to do. Third rule, nobody is supposed to see my mistakes or my faults. Or if they see them, they should not talk about them. But first, they should realize that I don't have any faults and I never make mistakes. Fourth, all my opinions are the correct ones. I would never have an incorrect opinion. All mine are correct. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah? Do any of you have those same rules of the universe? Yeah? Yeah, those rules of the universe, they become expectations about what our life should be. Everybody should like me. Then there's somebody who doesn't like me. Oh no, what's wrong with them? Or what's wrong with me that they don't like me? How am I going to tell them that I'm really a nice person and they've got to like me? You know, nobody's allowed not to like me. Yeah, and then we do something on our Instagram and all those things, to again, here I am, a likable person. Yeah.
Our time has gone so quickly. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure.
For wisdom.
Thank you all. I wish you everything good. And if you want to come to our monastery, we have a program every June for young adults who are curious about Buddhism. So if you go to our website, Sravasti Abbey, you can find out about it, and you're very welcome to come and visit us.
Thank you again.
Okay.